the ADWs were more violent. People died. So it's not really a win if more people died, in my opinion. Robberies, that is the thorn in our side, all in Noma, Union Market. Robberies are killing us. We do have a lot of plans in place, a lot of things we're doing. We're taking a lot of people to jail. The results of that are a different story. We're happy to answer questions about some of the commander and Chief Smith's very proactive plans on that. But they're up 60% for the year. And that's an interesting number because 60% is huge. But when you're looking at the previous years that were up double digits as well, so everybody's like, crime seems like they're out of control, and people come to stats like, oh, we're not that bad, it's only up 7-8%. Well, when it's year after year after year after year, that's getting up there. And when my officer numbers are going down and down and down and down, it's tough to fight. I'm not saying we're not doing anything. We are working hard. We are trying to throw everything at the wall we can, trying to find what sticks, and we are having some successes in areas that we know that are driving the crime, but we still got a lot of ways to go. Burglaries are down 35%. That's something that we kind of seen as people start working from home. If you're at home, you're not going to be burglarized. That's kind of a nice thing. So we've seen that trend kind of constantly. Burglaries have been down. Theft from autos down 7%. I don't know what's driving that. We did a lot of work on that in Noma, but at the same time, it might just be a blip. But having the theft from auto numbers go down. Thefts are up 18%. Motor vehicle theft, the other thing I really want to strike on. Motor vehicle theft is up 108%, and we're talking about that on top of previous years where it's been exponentially up. If you, a friend, a loved one, anybody, a neighbor you haven't met, drives a 2013 to 2021 Kia, or Hyundai, come to the 5th District, 1805 Bladensburg Road. I'm going to give you a free club. Yeah, the old school club that you put on your steering wheel. It's low tech, but it will stop the little TikTok fad of stealing those cars. Okay, it'll put an end to it. I have a good friend of mine who I didn't want to embarrass her by the car she bought. She was all proud of it. 2 weeks later, I got the phone call. My car's been stolen. I was like, crap. You know, because I didn't give her the club. I could say, hey, come to your local police district and get one, because I just didn't want to hurt her feelings because she was proud of the car. And now then she gets her car stolen. Get it done. Don't wait for Kia or Hyundai to fix it, because I don't know if and when they will. But 2013 to 2021, come get a club, get it on, and tell your dealership can get it fixed for that. Because out of all the cars stolen in the past 30 days, 292. 260, 270 are Kias and Hondas. So, I mean, it's relentless. A lot of people are being victimized multiple times. Come get a club from us from the 5th District. It's free. If we're out, I will find you a district that still has them in stock until we get resupplied. All right, but let's nip that in the bud. There's a lot of other struggles we have with stolen cars that, you know, we would love to do. Our chase policy, we're not going to get people killed, civilians, community members, likewise, to stop kids in a stolen car. We're just not going to do that. That balance isn't there, but there are other things we can do to try to secure those cars and keep those easy thefts from happening. There will always be a risk of theft, especially, you know, higher end cars that are beginning to be sold, that type of thing. But we need to stop the joyriding and being used for other violent offenses, because obviously you're not going to go out and hurt somebody really bad in your own car. You're going to steal it, take it as theft to use that. So we need to stop that. So please come get a club. And if you're outside the jurisdiction, spread the word. And maybe help somebody get one. DC, Maryland, Virginia. So these cars don't stop at the borders. They come and go. So, and I apologize for the noise from the radio. I'm the only manager working tonight, so I got to watch. So I'm trying to juggle things. So those are the immediate stats I have. And like I said, I want to answer questions and not just give you data. So anything anybody can ask us.
I'll ask if the commissioners have any questions based on roll call, and then we'll open it to the public. Friendly reminder for those that are attending virtually, we have a Q&A function if you want to drop a question in there, or if you're a senior citizen and want to ask the question directly, use your hand and we'll unmute you. Commissioners, 5D01, you had a question?
I was wondering, would you be able to give just a quick rundown of some of the more notable things that you've noticed, particularly in the Union Market area, and the responses that you've been doing?
Sure. So Union Market has some interesting developments, which have been good. Obviously, all the development has been great. But there's still underlying things that lead to confrontation. We have several schools that get out all at once and make their way to the metro that goes through Union Market. And that creates a lot of stress on the community as different schools that maybe come and start fights with the kids coming down, that type of thing happens. That's my big heartburn from about 1400 or about 2 o'clock until 5:30 at night till all those kids get safely on the metro and out of town. It only takes 2 or 3 people from one school and 2 or 3 people from the other school to start a fight. And then, of course, the other kids are going to take the side of their school because they're not going to, it's a pride thing. And so that's one of our big struggles. Overnight, the robberies. One robbery just made me so mad. A guy's walking down the street with a $30,000 watch and $30,000 in cash in his pocket. Really? You just can't do that. Now, I hear people argue it's not incumbent upon the victim to change their behavior. Okay, I can understand that. I guarantee you walk through Union Market at 2 o'clock in the morning, leaving a bar with a $30,000 watch on your wrist, it's going to get robbed. I've seen them do it. It happens. And so with a lot of the extended nightlife that we're seeing, we're going to see that type of crime happen. There's just an incident on Montello Avenue the other night. We had a shooting. The officer is right around the corner. That's an open case that's being prosecuted and arrest was made. I'm not going to comment on it. The officer is right there. Handcuffs go on that night. Okay. And they don't care. Robberies are even worse. Okay. They don't care that the police officer's right around the corner. They will wait for them to walk around the corner and then they will rob. They do not care. And so that's a lot of the struggles we're having with Union Market. I'm going to try to keep the kids safe, get to school, safely getting to the metro. We do have extra officers. We have resources. And I believe Union Market just recently hired an off-duty officer. So I want to clarify on this. That MPD, city government, the taxes are not paying for that. Or an organization like Union Market Business Improvement District or something like that is paying that officer out of their own money as a contractor. Okay. So I get a lot of people who say, hey, well, why is that officer there all the time? Where's our officer? Everybody wants an officer. That's somebody who's paying that officer extra money. It's like a second job for that officer to be in Union Market. So we encourage that. You can follow up with me, our 5th District Commander, Commander Altieri. We'll get you in the right direction if you want to go with that type of situation for your business or that type of thing. But that's one thing we have in Union Market that just recently started. I saw him walking around here when I pulled up, and you'll see a little bit of a difference. We also have reimbursable overtimes for clubs, that type of thing. And a lot of the clubs that they don't want problems with it's not DCRA anymore, or the alcoholic beverages. They don't want those issues. So they will hire MPD officers on an overtime basis to make sure they don't have issues in their clubs so they can stay open and they don't get their liquor license revoked. So those are a lot of things we're working with. Union Market has been great as far as taking ideas and running with them. And like everywhere else in the city, it doesn't eliminate that struggle, but it does help us close cases and move things along.
5D02.
I have a couple of questions. First, how would safe passage help with the children getting to and from school through Brentwood Road and Union Market, Mount Olivet Road? Also, with the car thefts, and one thing is about the car thefts, the other thing is about curfew. We're noticing that a lot of kids are out late till after 12 midnight. And that's when a lot of crimes are being done by the kids still in the cars. How are we managing that? Because I keep getting conflicting information about the curfew. What is the curfew?
Okay. Recently, you probably saw on the news, the curfew was reinstated, but it's being implemented in a targeted approach. In other words, we're not going to send officers cruising through residential neighborhoods trying to pick kids up to take them to juvenile processing. For one thing, that's not the best use of our time with our current personnel issues. And we don't want to just pick kids up and put them in contact with the police just for doing it. So there are very targeted locations where we've seen a lot of high crime from juveniles, and that's where the bulk of the curfew enforcement is being done. The 5th District does assign one officer, 2 if we can, for curfew enforcement. And they will go through our areas where we have juveniles hanging out. One of the big ones lately has been Washington Place, but there's just about every neighborhood has an area where the kids hang out. I don't want to get into the politics of it, of what the officers are then allowed to do with the kids. However, we're not going to harm a juvenile in order to take them to curfew. And that is a very delicate balance trying to implement that effectively. But we do have personnel assigned for that. We do have special transportation for juveniles. And that is something we do work on. And it's one of the things you're kind of doing on the edges as you're trying to combat the violence and the shootings, knowing that if you can get that kid plugged in and identified as needing services and plugged into an agency to help them, that might prevent the thefts. And going back to safe passage, and please correct me if I misunderstood your question. There is outside resources that are being used for safe passage now because MPD's school resource officer does a program barely exists and no longer performs that function. We had them out there today. There was a large disorderly, we will call it an affray, going on to the Noma Gallaudet Metro this evening. And there were some issues identifying who they were based on what they were wearing. And that's something Safe Passage typically helps us with. And no one could tell us which school these kids that were causing the trouble belonged to. And that was a bit of a pain. So they do help, they do communicate. They were on scene tonight with our officers saying, hey, let's identify these folks and so we can contact the school, figure out what was causing the altercation, but they can only do so much.
Thank you.
Okay, 5D06, you had a question.
Lieutenant, so make sure everyone can hear me. Thank you. This has been a long day for you. So can you give two questions? One, give us an update regarding the shooting incident today at Heckinger Mall. And two, but before you do that, address what happens if an officer encounters someone, a juvenile, a child that's violating curfew and they resist any action, any lawful action that the police may take. Or let's say they run or otherwise, how does the officer respond to that?
That's going to be a case on a case-by-case basis. One thing that's recently changed in DC code has been officers' ability to use discretion. And the discretion in that situation is, I see a child in the 800 block of Bladensburg Road, and I was like, you know what? That person is not 8 years old. We need to find out where the parents are. And I tell them to stop, and they run into traffic on Benning Road. Should I chase them? What if they get hit? Is it then worth it? And those are the decisions officers are making on a daily basis. And let's say they're not even running into heavy traffic. Let's say the officer has to make the decision, well, this kid's going to fight me. And if I so much as touch their neck or touch a part of their body that causes their neck to be moved, I can be sent to jail for 15 years and fined $20,000. Is that worth a curfew violation? I know what the answer is for me, but that's for each officer to decide on themselves.
So I guess it's safe to say that the curfew that we are supposedly enforcing now is less effective than the curfew enforced in previous years.
I think policing in general is extremely less effective than it was in previous years.
Thank you. And please address the Heckinger Mall shooting.
Today at about 13:42 hours, we were dispatched to a call for shooting at Heckinger Mall. Unfortunately, let me say that I'm sure a lot of people know what happened or it's gotten out, but for the sake of the investigation, I just would like to thank the community, all the stakeholders there for all their hard work. And that was a tragedy. And as bad as it was, I expect that things based on how our community has responded, reaching out to us, I'm hopeful that that case will close. But that is a very fresh investigation. I don't want to say anymore.
Lieutenant, I'd like to follow up on that. The Heckinger Mall shooting shooting today was in my SMD. And unfortunately, I was working and wasn't able to get to the scene. But I do want to ask, because of the uptick in things like this, will there be extra patrol or more presence for police in Heckinger Mall area because of this incident?
It is our practice when a violent crime like this happens to provide extra visibility. That's what we love to do because it makes people feel better. It's like, oh, well, that happened. Well, thank goodness there's a police officer there now. Where we're at right now is we're more interested in where the next shooting's happening. Okay. This type of incident was not random. We have no reason to believe that that's going to happen there again, at least under those circumstances. There are several locations within your ANC that I know there are ongoing violent threats, credible threats that we need to have officers in those areas. If the Midnight Watch Commander has resources, I'm sure they will have someone at Heckinger Mall. if the personnel just isn't there, and 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be something we're able to provide. Hechinger Mall does have an extensive security force there. That was extremely helpful today. And they, not only were they helping with the initial investigation, they were helping man the police line so I could keep more units in service, answering calls for service that don't stop you just because you have a very violent incident. And we will do our best to stay as visible as we can. However, we are more interested in where the next crime is going to happen and preventing that and being at the right spot than looking backwards as to, hey, this is what's happened. So let's put a bunch of lights up to make people feel better. We're trying to be as effective as we can.
Thank you. I think that's helpful because in particularly in my community, there's a lot of seniors who walk to that area and grocery shop there. So I have already gotten a number of calls from individuals who are just kind of just shaken by going there to shop. So I'm glad that you made those comments publicly so that they can kind of ease some of the anxiety. Thank you. Thank you all for your service today.
I'll ask one final question from the commission before we open it to the public. We're in certain areas, we're seeing, I guess, more tension and more fear, fear from residents, but more tension among certain actors or players on the field that we see on a regular basis. You said it yourself, there was an incident, I think it was last week, where the officer was literally not far from a matter that occurred in Trinidad, and you were able to apprehend them pretty quickly since you guys were in the neighborhood. But what can we really say to our constituents, our residents, our neighbors that are feeling these realities, that live in the hot spots, that live on, that one block? Like, what can we say to these folks?
I hear a lot of fear, and that's rightfully placed. We've shed all the officers who are scared. The only people left are dedicated. Okay. And they've got skin in the game.
I like that.
And we need skin in the game from the community.
That's right.
If you're scared, we can't help you. If you're willing to put, I'm going to say, your life at risk to clean up your community, we'll be there to help. But that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that comment. We'll open it up now to the public to ask any questions. I'll ask the question that we have in the Q&A. If you're interested if you're in the public and want to ask the question, if you can come to the mic and make a line to ask a question, please do so. I can't read the name.
It's Jake Paul.
Jake Pauly's asking, I live at, was it 18th and I, and hear gunshot shootings every other day. I've heard one today at Hechinger Mall. I'm scared, and so is my partner. What effective policies and change can we expect to see? I guess just touching again on anything that you have been doing recently at the 5th District.
We have officers dedicated to that area. We look at it a little bit different than just 18th and I.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at that neighborhood, we're looking at pretty much I Street, Maryland Avenue, 21st down to Benning Road. Pretty much you think of it from the 1700 to the 2600 block from Maryland to Benning. We're looking at that as a focus area because a lot of the issues we have are encompassed. Lately, we've seen a lot of activity at 19th and I, but it's the same activity that pops up at 21st and Bennett, in the Horseshoe. It's all related. There has been some infrastructure brought in as far as some CCTV cameras that the commander finally got. I don't know why it's so hard to get those, but he is, and everybody wants one.
Yeah.
And he is strictly deploying those based on need. He's basing it on statistical data. Everybody wants one at their block because it makes them feel better.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many of them that he can have. And he says, listen, I know your block's bad, but this block is 10 times worse. So it goes on that block. And that's a hard decision to make, to look someone in the eye and say, sorry, not you today. That's not fun. Those are the visible changes you'll see. We have several things as far as robbery suppression. We have, I don't want to get too specific as far as the department's action, but it's not on deaf ears. We see it happening. We're reacting to it because patrol doesn't have the personnel to send someone onto every block anymore. I think Commissioner Henderson and I were in a very spirited debate several months ago, and I asked her if she remembered when we put 27 officers in our PSA every Tuesday. Those were good days. I don't know if I feel that many people on a shift anymore, let alone mix that up amidst all of our PSAs. we just don't have the manpower for a cop on every block anymore. Barely one for every neighborhood. So
Yeah, these are very trying times. That's why I continue to call on the mayor to activate the National Guard to help.
There is stuff going on behind the scenes to close these cases, working with both federal and city partners to make sure that the people who are behind these actions are being held accountable, at least as far as the police department can.
Thank you. Skip, did you have a question?
Yeah, actually, one follow on to Jake. Jake, how does he like the things on
That's beyond the police department's purview. Yep. I derive my authority from I derive my authority from the consent of the governed, and I could get up here on a soapbox and tell you everything I think that's been done wrong by everybody that I disagree with. That's not my job. We are going to establish probable cause when crimes are committed, and we're going to make arrests. That's what we're going to do. We're going to put our lives on the line every freaking day to do it. The mayor said 10 years we'd be up to staff. My government told me in 10 years something would be done. My commander told me 5 if we stop attrition. I've had more officers walk out the door today than we've hired this month. And those are just facts that I can back up with numbers, and I'm not going to comment anymore on it.
We appreciate the transparency.
which had a lot of stolen wallets.
Ooh.
Curious to know what has happened. Car was stolen from Richard yet. And at least some of the content in the car was taken to actually verify it. I'm just curious to know if it really has been transferred to Virginia or something happened. Have you found?
I can't answer any of that. I can just tell you what we typically do. We find a bunch of what everybody knows is stolen. We need it to have been reported stolen. Okay, so
The car was.
the car, great, but the wallets, that's, okay.
Stolen stuff. Calls.
If that stuff can be traced to a specific crime, it will be forwarded to the respective agencies.
Okay.
And I'll just make a point of this, as this helps us report every crime every single time.
Mhm.
I called the police and they stuff.
Yep. A lot of times, you know, you think, oh, it was just a wallet. I'll replace my driver's license. I'll replace my credit card. Yeah, but what if we find it in a stolen car and we can tie it together? Report every crime. Also, that drives stats. Every call for service drives stats. You want to prove to somebody you need more police officers in your neighborhood? Call the police.
Absolutely.
If it's not 911, do 311. Text 50 to 411. It's 50411. It's real. Drive those calls for service. It's my duty as the watch commander, and these officers will attest. I will tell the dispatcher, sorry, there's 25 runs pending. Okay, I have no problem. We will figure out a way to deal with them. We will handle the priorities, the violent crimes. We'll do that immediately. I will keep officers available for those type of calls. Don't worry about overflowing me. That's my job to manage my calls of service. We will handle that. We need to know. Also, be a horrible victim. Okay, if somebody burglarizes my house, they can take everything. I'm going to log into Google and I'm going to hit print on a piece of paper that has everything that's of note and valuable that a thief after 15 years of law enforcement might want out of my house with the serial numbers. And I can just email it to the officer. They will put that in the database. And now, whether that computer, TV, cell phone turns up tomorrow or 10 years from now, it's tracked. It's in the system, stolen, and we can close those cases. Be a horrible victim. And that is the pain in the butt. If you have and are able to track things that are stolen and hand them to the police officers right then. Apple AirTags, those are a great little device. You got to know your username and your password. We can most of the time track those instantaneously. Most of the time. You're fine, my iPhone type stuff that works. Those AirTags are great. Don't do it yourself. Don't do it yourself. Okay. We get calls all the time. Yeah, I followed my stolen cell phone to this house. Stop.
I know.
For your safety, stop. But that doesn't preclude you from taking those steps and helping us close cases and make arrests.
The one final thing is, there's a lots at 840 Eastern Street East. started to excavate for a building to get their out of money, it's gonna be auction. People are dumping their tires in the street now.
Okay.
I've called in 311, I haven't seen any response whatsoever, except the numbers to one.
It's trash all over.
But it's getting worse, and I saw it today, we were behind you all.
Okay.
That's not shop. But I haven't seen the people doing it, so if you guys see someone, please.
Yeah, try to get the tags,
Thank you,
those
Mr. Keith.
situations, if you see that truck, and here's another thing, if you see a truck filled with construction debris, just meandering around the neighborhood, looking suspicious, just write the tag down and text it to us. And then when we find that debris 3 hours later dumped somewhere, we got something to go on. Other than that, it's just a pile of trash. If we don't have a tag or something to trace it to, it's just trash.
Gotcha. Question. We have a question. If you want to come to the mic so people on Zoom can hear.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mia Richards.
Is the mic
I'm
on?
president. Hi,
Tap it, see if it's working. Yeah, I think it's on, it's on. It's gotta speak.
okay,
low.
I'll speak louder. Thank you. My name is Mia Richards. Thank you, officers, for being here. I have 3 questions that I'll ask consecutively in response to what you said. I wanted to know about the connection between drug use and sales and the uptick in crime and robberies, if you could speak to that. I'd also like to know about the age demographic. From a lot of what I've heard from our constituents and what I've observed working in DCPS, we have a number of students who have committed crimes, who have active cases going. And our constituents have made comments, or it seems to be something that's been said that like, oh, the youth crime is really outrageous right now. So if you could speak to that age demographic, is a lot of what you're seeing student age crime, and if you have any comment about what we can do in DCPS to help circumvent that. And then also recruitment. I know that that's been a challenge recently. Is there, this is something I'm personally interested in, is there a recruitment branch that's targeting our youth demographic where they could be bought in from high school age and, you know, be catered to? There's like a lot of benefits to community service, and I think our youth needs to know that, you know, they're needed. And so I wanted to know if you could speak to that also. Thank you.
Thank you for those very thoughtful questions. Drug use, sales, between robberies, there has historically always been a strong nexus between that, especially between crews robbing each other. A lot of our robberies right now don't seem to be geared that way. And I think a lot of that could be due to the sale of drugs has changed dramatically over the past 10 years. It used to be all street level, and now it's so much of it is done online that the street level dealing and sales just isn't what it used to be. And maybe that drives a little bit of the violence because now territory means a little bit more, but that's speculation on my part. But, you know, you see the majority of these sales and transactions are not on street level. They're, you know, on a backpack that looks like a carrier going in and out of a luxury apartment building, and not so much. A lot of the violence we're seeing is over things that don't make sense. There's a big case in the news a few months ago from Northwest where a friend killed a friend over a type of dipping sauce. We're seeing violence over nothing between neighborhoods, calling each other out in beefs, in music videos and that type of thing, driving our violence. And that kind of goes right into your next question of what could you do, DC public schools. I don't know if the public schools can affect that. You would know better than I as far as the things that are being consumed on social media and how that's driving violence. But I think everybody in our community, whether it's our friends, nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, can start having that conversation. This stuff's being said on the internet, and it's worth going to prison for. It's worth killing for. That's at some point our community needs to say, "Hey, this is not worth killing each other for." Where's the sanctity of life? Where's the desire to preserve life? Where's the belief that humanity is something special to be treasured? And I feel like that's slipping away because the speed at which people are going to violence, to killing each other, especially our youth, is very disturbing. And I've never seen anything like it. I talked to a lot of my coworkers and superior officers who've been here for 30, 35 years. They've never seen anything like it. Killing each other over literally nothing. I could understand, I want that drug territory, so I'm going to kill you because I want the money. I don't agree with that, but I can understand it. I don't understand why we're killing each other over an argument on a music video. As far as the age demographic of criminals, I don't have any stats to back that up. A lot of juvenile records are protected for good reason. We don't want juveniles exposed publicly. So I don't think I have a source to sell. I can tell you this is but it's all over the news. People as young as 10 involved in violent carjackings, people 12 and 13-year-old kids killing people in robberies. Yes, it's a real thing. It absolutely is. And as far as recruitment, we still have our cadet program that has been recently expanded. Now, it is eligible for high schoolers. I don't think it goes as young as 15 or 16. I could be wrong. 17, 18. And of course, I think the high end is 21. You have to be 21 to actually become a sworn member. So if you're under 21, you're eligible for the cadet program if you live in DC. And not only do you start getting paid as a cadet, you're fast tracked in the recruit program. It counts towards your years of service. And you also come out with a degree from UDC. So it's I think, a very ambitious program. And though it hasn't been, I think, the biggest priority, you know, if you look back 10 or 15 years, it wasn't the biggest program of the department. But under Chief Conti just last year, they actually created a school and a building for that program separately from the police academy to give the cadets a place that they can come in and be trained and be introduced to the Metropolitan Police Department. And I will also say, you know, for anybody who came to this town and wants a career in public service, benefits are okay. The money is no longer competitive, but I tell you what, you will be on the front lines of public service. And it's a rewarding job. If you get that reward from what you did during the day, don't expect a lot of accolades from other people. In fact, they might march in the street and tell you that you're the worst thing in the world. But for the folks who can swallow that, get behind that, and dedicate their lives to public service, it's very worthwhile. I'll tell you, after 15 years, I'll finish my last 10 and it'll be all right. But I've been happy to do it.
Thank you.
Did I hit, you have some nuanced questions. Did I hit it all? I'm sorry, cadets have to be, I don't know the minimum age. It's 17 or 18, maybe as low as 16, but it's high school age. You have to be 21 to become a sworn member and officer. And so wherever you step in the cadet program, when you reach the age of 21, you'll be eligible to step into the full sworn officer, which is what you see here tonight. Yes, yes. It's broader than DC public schools, but yes, the cadet program is specifically for DC residents. And so when we're targeting, you know, 16 to 19-year-olds, that's going to be in DC public schools. And yes, the recruiting branch has a division that is the cadet program, and they are involved in that outreach. A lot of surrounding agencies have really upped their game as far as pay and benefits. And MPD is lacking behind significantly. The pain of MPD, you know, you had to counterbalance that with the salary. And so you knew that going in, well, this place is going to pay me a lot less, but my quality of life might be better. MPD, we get a lot of stuff thrown at us. And when you don't balance the money out, it's going to be hard to recruit. You know, $25,000 is a lot of money, but you know, that's a one-time payment. So.
Thank you, Mia. We have a question on the Q&A, but we'll save that for one of the presenters actually. And we'll have final question right here from our resident that attended the meeting. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Lindsay, and I live on Montello, like around the corner from ROM. So one of those shootings that occurred the other night, a bullet did come in through our living room wall. Our neighbors, their bedroom was shot up. Our multiple neighbors, their cars were hit and like coming into our houses. So we've been there multiple years. This is the first time that this has happened. So it does seem to us that like the violence is increasing. And kind of to your point about trying to focus on future crimes. So the drug trade that's on ROM, it's pretty out in the open, like it's pretty well known and they don't really hide their activities. So I guess I'm curious in terms of like the cameras that are set up and policing efforts, like, you know, knowing that it seems that a lot of the violence, at least that like we see, is between, it seems like drug related and not so much like outside targets. So kind of what's the strategy, or like, are the cameras meant to capture that kind of activity, or like, what do you need from the community, or kind of like what's the strategy there?
Thank you for the question.
I don't want to contest what you're feeling and what you're experiencing. We have solid information that the violence being driven right now is probably not drug related. Okay. There's just other underlying factors. As far as the drug trafficking, I mean, there are several neighborhoods that we had pretty much at least driven the drug sales at least out of the open and behind closed doors. And there's been changes to marijuana laws and other things that have made possession of marijuana legal. And so now you're talking about a citation instead of an arrest. And I'm not going to say that's right or wrong. Frankly, that's up to the citizens of DC. However, that's going to change how police are going to interact. And back to that statement we made on the curfew violators, what am I going to do for a $25 ticket? Am I going to fight somebody over a $25 ticket? Now, I think the department's policy is more of a larger scale narcotic sales prevention. We're not interested in the street level dealers who probably are barely better than folks suffering from drug addiction themselves. How much resources are we going to take putting them in jail? Who do we really want? The people making the money, the people pushing on the street, the people bringing in large amounts of drugs, and those investigations are ongoing. We've had lots of success this year with major operations, major narcotics, making bigger cases. And those are the cases we focus on right now. You're not going to see those results immediately. Unfortunately, it's not going to affect what you feel on the street on a day-to-day basis. But do know we're out there trying to get to the root of the problem and not get officers injured, get members of our community injured, or all these other things for a $25 citation for marijuana.
But in terms of like what we see, like, you know, after 10 p.m. and the shootings that occur seems to be people that are on the street, they're being shot at. So it's not directly to your point about what sort of
That they, in this particular situation, there's a very specific issue that I'm not going to speak to. And that's something, this is a very open forum, and I don't want to endanger other people's lives because we get things from people we want to keep our lines of communication open.
But if you wait, we can talk offline. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Final comment from the commissioner, and then we're done with
And I'm sorry,
Fifth District.
I'm sorry, really quickly. Okay, a lot of us commissioners, we do live in hotspots. Our commission is a hotspot. And we get a lot of information, or we get a lot of complaints from our constituents about the open air drug dealing, the drug use. And now that you're letting us know that officers are not going to approach any drug dealers or people that are using drugs out in the open because of the laws, and you're just not going to spend resources doing that. So in turn, we need to tell our constituents that as well, because we're getting trashed because we're allowing all this to happen. Well, we're not. We're not. It's just the laws. You have a lack of resources, and it's just not worth the fight.
I can't disagree with anything you say. I just want to rephrase what the fight is. It is worth the fight, and we're fighting. We're just not fighting like we used to. You're not going to see two unmarked cars filled with guys in tac vests jump out and throw everybody against the fence and search them. You're just not going to see that anymore. And that's the type of hard-nosed pressure that is required to get them off the street.
I understand that and I know about them
I
times.
don't
I
disagree with anything you
remember.
said. I want to make sure you know we're still in the fight. Because other places will pay me more money and I'll have more days off and I'll have a nicer car. I'm still in the fight.
All righty.
All right.
We appreciate y'all's time tonight. We really do. For any residents that want to get their contact information before they leave, please do so, but we'll follow up and make sure we're able to get in contact with you if you have any additional questions.
I'm gonna leave my business cards on the back table, so feel free to grab them. I focus specifically in your ANC, like I said, here in Union Market. But if you have a question, email I can't get the answer for, I'll refer you to the correct PSA manager who can.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Appreciate your
coming.
time.
Thank you for coming. Okay, with that being said, we'll move forward with the agenda tonight. We just have a few more requested presentations and we'll go on to our vote for next month's meeting. With that being said, we were supposed to have either the chair or the vice chair for the Fifth District Citizens Advisory Council, but we have our secretary since the treasurer is currently busy. And that is Miss Mia Richards. So please give your time and attention to her for the 5D CAC.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Mia Richards. I am the recording secretary elect for.
Mia, see if you can hold the mic instead.
Sorry about that. I am the recording secretary elect for Fifth District Community Advisory Council. I am happy also to serve with our illustrious but humble treasurer, Chair Guzman. So a couple things I just wanted to admonish our community members to make a bid for your engagement and membership with CAC. We are the public safety and concern public voice. The Fifth District Department, MPD hears from us directly. Commander Altieri is very receptive. He's been very receptive and it's nice because ANC and CAC, since we have some cross membership, we have a strong and good working relationship. So we meet monthly. There's a $10 membership fee. I'm not sure how, but I would just say, don't let that stop you from being interested in being a member. We do monthly reports, updates, statistics, and announcements. We hear from a number of agencies and constituents and community members, as well as higher ups within MPD. Some of our recent action items were on human relations, crime prevention and reduction, youth and diversity, and legislative affairs. So it's definitely a time to bring all of your concerns directly to MPD. Once again, they're very receptive to everything that we have to say. So I'd like to thank them once again publicly. And then lastly, I'll just say a community is made up of all of its members. So please do not feel like your voice does not count. It absolutely does. I think our main focus right now, I'm speaking on behalf of our Chair Penn, is membership. We really need those community voices. So please bring your concerns. It's my pleasure to serve. Once again, my name is Mia Richards. So if you have any questions while you're here, please feel free to speak to me.
Councilmember Parker's designated to attend our next CAC meeting.
Yes, so Councilmember Parker's office, a couple months ago, I think we had the acting chair of MPD, so it's definitely an opportunity to get to know and speak to the people that are elected to serve us. Thank you so much.
And just to echo what Mia is saying, we're looking for more residents to stand up against what's happening in our neighborhoods, not just to be fearful of the actions that are occurring. not just to address them in an email, but to actually stand with us in community and consciousness on this matter. A lot of us tend to create either small little groups on the block, or just start an email chain with everybody and their mama on it. We want to take action because a lot of us are fed up with the crime. A lot of us are fed up with having safety be a top concern in our neighborhoods. And I'll speak for myself. Sometimes it's so bad you want to pull out a gun yourself and handle something. And it shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't be living like this. We understand some of our neighborhoods have been plagued by these issues for decades and generations. But there comes a point where if the citizens are capable, if the citizens are educated, and if the citizens have time, then the citizens need to do the work. We just can't assume MPD can take care of all this. We need to get to work. So I am asking residents, please, 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 please. You all heard it almost every ANC meeting this year. Join the CAC. I was a resident that was upset and just tormented by all the stuff happening in my neighborhood. Showed up to the first meeting, vented everything I had to say, and a couple meetings later, we were able to get some action done with some of the crack dens in Trinidad. And thanks to the OAG and the marshals, we were able to take some of those properties, but we still have problems. So it's an ongoing effort. I applaud Mia, who was a resident with the same kind of energy that she wanted to do something, and she stood up and joined and volunteered for a position on the exec team. So thank you again for doing that, because not everyone does that. So if you're really interested in assisting, please join us for our next meeting where Councilmember Parker will be joining. And with that also being said, I'd like to add that we also are doing task force with the CAC. I'm starting one specifically with some of the ANC commissioners in the Bladensburg Road area. So that's Commissioner Blacknell, Commissioner McCollum, and some of the ones in Ward 7. And as I mentioned earlier, the task force for Mount Olivet, we will be having a PSA meeting, PSA 506. And if you don't know, PSA is a police service area. PSA 506 is all of Trinidad and Ivy City. So if you live in Trinidad, if you live in Ivy City, we'll be holding a PSA meeting on Wednesday at 6 o'clock at Jabo's Compact Store off of Montello. And if you need more information, please reach out to me directly. Thank you, Mia.
Thank you all.
Oh, we're on time. Okay. Miss Keisha Barnes, I believe, is on the Zoom. Do you see them, Commissioner? Miss Barnes, do you still have the option to be the panelist? I think I gave you that option. You can allow them to talk. Yes. Miss Barnes is currently working with NARC with Cure the Streets, and we invited them to join us tonight for tonight's meeting. There seems to be different points and opinions on this group, so we would love to hear what you all are doing right now, and take any of our questions regarding Cure the Streets and violence interruption.
Absolutely. Hi, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Keisha Barnes. I'm serving or transitioning out of the program manager role for the Cure the Streets, Trinidad and M Street locations, or target areas, we call it. Right now, we're going into FY24 with the Office of Attorney General. I've been there since June the 7th. That was in my inception date. We are currently looking at the uptick in violence, looking at some of the individuals which we call visitors. These are some people who are from outside communities coming into our Trinidad community, visiting and making it their home. So our violence center workers are working diligently to engage these individuals, offer them the same services as some of the participants that we work with, to offer some of the services that we try to connect with and resources that we try to connect with. I am also petitioning and working with the Office of Attorney General to create some MOAs and MOUs to create more resources like job trainings and other resources that are needed by the assessments that are taken by our outreach workers to engage these individuals. Gearing up for FY24, we want to do a little bit more on our site. Mr. Salvador, I met you a few times, but you do know that our site is at 1109 Mount Olivet Road in Northeast. We are going to make this our safe space, our brave place for some of those participants to come in and do focus groups so we can hear some of the things that they are faced with while they're out in the community, some of the things that they need, as well as creating some life skills and trainings with facilitators to come into our brave place for them to come and get some of the trainings that are offered within the city. Last year, we partnered with the One's office where we did some community cleanups. We also did some group activities, some community events. We do have one coming up with a trunk or treat in the hotspot areas. We did choose 4 locations. Site supervisor Cody Wynn had chose 4 areas of concerns. We go try to make it as safe as possible. Again, it is an uptick. So what we have proposed now is Morris, M Street, Rum, and Penn. And we will have some violence interrupters out there. We will have the 1 car decorated each and have some candies out there in the early days. And I'm assuming, not too sure, but from my tenure in doing this work, Go teams are activated oftentimes in a lot of the communities that are experiencing crime. So not too sure, that haven't been rolled out as of yet. So we're getting up for FY24, looking to do more things, those that I have mentioned, and then again, asking the OAG for more resources to support these individuals as well as the community.
Thank you so much, Ms. Barnes. I'll
You're
open up
very
questions. I'll open up questions from the commission and then from the public. A reminder, we have a Q&A function. We have one question in the Q&A for you, but we'll wait on that one. If any seniors want to ask a question, you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask the question directly. Are there any questions from the commission? 5D02.
Yes, how are you all doing with helping with the safe passage for KIP up on Brentwood Road?
Yeah, so I think someone mentioned earlier, and that may have been the commissioner, there are sites or programs that Safe Passage is funded through. However, our site supervisor do deploy at 3 schools. I want to say 2 because I don't know the third one. We are at KIP Web. So they are stationed there for let out because the violence interrupter work days are, if anyone needs to know, Tuesday through Thursdays. They are there from 12 to 8 in our priority target areas. From Friday and Saturday, they are there from from 4 to midnight. So at 3 p.m. when they let out, they are at KIP Web, and is it Holy Name? Sorry, I'm not too familiar with the area, but I think it's Holy Cross or Holy Name. So they are deployed at those 2 schools. And today is not a work day, but I can text Cody and get that information back to Ms. Salvador to learn the 3rd school that he deployed the violence interrupters for safe passage. But again, there are some schools that do have safe passage workers that are granted to work there.
Okay, and you all are not being stretched too thin.
Well, we are in our priority community, so just shifting from one of the areas that they're always stationed at or moving or canvassing in, we move there, especially when a call is given directly to Mr. Wynn in reference to maybe something that either he's learning from the outside resources or something that the principal or someone in the school is letting him know that could be brewing up. And then he definitely make it actually. But over the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing, and I've even been there myself.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your service.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
We had a question earlier in the chat about how violence interrupters collaborate with the Metropolitan Police Department. So Ms. Barnes, I wondered if you might be willing to share a bit about that.
Yes, I do know that again, in my little 3 months, have been just doing some shifting and cleaning up, but I do know that Cody Wynn, our site supervisor, have been collaborating with him. I'm not sure if that has been ongoing thing like weekly, bi-weekly, et cetera. But he has been conversing with, I want to say it may have been the commissioner, not too sure, but I can follow up on that as well.
Thank you.
Oh, and just to add, they did come to our back to school event. They were there in front of Jabo's and Martello Barbershop. So they did come there. And it was a young lady and a gentleman that was there to kind of participate, greet the students who would come past and get the book bags and the food that was there.
I just had two quick questions, Ms. Barnes. How
Sure.
can residents engage this office, specifically the one on Mount Olivet? I'm speaking more for the folks that are in our hotspot area, Rom and Montello in West Virginia.
Yes, our office is open. Program assistant is there Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Violence interrupters, of course, have access there. We do engage participants there. What I am brewing up, as I did tell you, I was working on a report, but what I am brewing up for the constituents, community members, et cetera, is to, one, I'm reading, so if I look crazy on camera, please forgive me, but to enhance our safety measures, we want to offer those new programmers in that safe space. And then the other thing we want to do is partner with some on the ground individuals like our violence interrupters, so we can expand our reach and collaboratively ask for resources and combine our resources. And then we want to work with residents. We want to see if they want to do any trauma-informed care or any crisis intervention, or if they want to, we want to survey our community members to see if they feel safe. It's clear today, as this is my first ANC meeting, that we do see some that are expressing that they are not safe. So for FY24, we want to survey community members on the perception of safety, the violence intervention work, and the VIs in the community. We want to create some educational and employment programs for participants and track their improvement, long-term outcomes, and for the participants and participators who are on our caseload, and then our reduction in reoccurring events in our target areas and individuals participating who were previously involved in deviant behavior. So our office is open. I want to say, if I can see far, I do see one of the ANC commissioners that may have stopped past the office in my early, again, I started in June, my early days of being with NARC Cure the Streets. But we want to do some surveying, some canvassing, and get them involved with some of those shooting responses that we do.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Before you go, just one, I guess, a comment or feedback from some of the residents. It seems like Cure the Streets, there might be a small gap where our seniors are not able to not either participate or not engaged enough. I acknowledge that you all do a lot of work with our youth, which happens to be involved in a lot of these matters, but our senior citizens want to be more engaged with you all. So if I can provide any feedback, I would love to see maybe for the next fiscal year to see some events or some sort of outreach for them to engage on this matter because they care too.
Yes, absolutely. So I do have paint and canvases at the office. We have been talking about it with one of our violence interrupters, Ms. Kiana Ross. That is definitely her passion, to see if we could partner with DPR and create a safe space there where we can do something like talking paint, provide some self-care bags for them as well. And then to, just start the conversation of what they would like to see, if they need to be able to go to the store, if they feel safer, if they see someone in that yellow shirt with that NARC branding or that black shirt with that NARC branding to feel safe. So that is something that we're trying to do probably as we close out October, November, as again, funding for the beginning of the fiscal year is just a little scarce because we're closing out a fiscal year and getting new budget. But we already have some of the materials there. We do have a violence interrupter and an outreach worker that is dedicated for that. And she is, she's definitely on it. She wanted to do a lot for the seniors. So look forward to that invite too.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Ms. Barnes, for coming out tonight. We appreciate
welcome.
all your office does. And we look forward to continue working with you all.
Thank you very much. And I look forward to hearing to each of you.
Thank you. If you could drop any of the best point of contact, either Mr. Wynn's information or anyone else from your office in the chat, that'll be greatly be appreciated. Thank you. Okay, for those few folks that are still here, luckily we only have one more presenter. We don't have the one's office tonight or Department of Public Works, but we have DOB here and we have two folks representing them. So if they want to come up to the mic and share a little bit about who you are, how we interact with you, and what stuff you guys are working on right now, specifically catering ANC 5D.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hazel Crawford. I'm accompanied here by my partner, Mr. Mark Anthony Tynes.
You got to eat that mic.
Oh,
You got to eat it. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
My name is Hazel Crawford, accompanied here by my partner, Mark Anthony Tynes. We're from the Department of Buildings, supporting wards 5 and 6. We don't really have any updates from you all. We've been working with Commissioner Roblin on 1124 and 1126, Florida Avenue Northeast, the pit, and working on making sure they get their permits and making sure they keep their property clean and tidy. Commissioner McCullum, we did the mayoral walk. Again, echoing what Acting Director Hanlon has said to the commissioners and the community, we are here to serve you all. We don't know unless you all come to us. We give links to the commissioners to disseminate to the community. If you have any questions regarding housing property maintenance, vacant properties, illegal construction, please feel free to contact myself or Mr. Tynes here. Any questions or concerns?
Commissioners, did you want to pass to the public a question? Go ahead, Commissioner. Then Commissioner Henderson has a question before we defer to the public. Ms. Henderson, you're on your phone. You're not listening. I addressed you first to ask the question. That's why you're not listening.
Enforcement is what works. So I will send in testimony tomorrow because I'm certainly supporting the nomination. I think that Mr. Hanlon has a broad view of what's needed at the Department of Buildings, and we need to make sure that we are collectively addressing properties proactively. Sure, it's nice to receive a complaint, but I would like to see a more broad approach to personnel just driving around proactively, identifying, illegal dumping, because a lot of the contractors, they just don't get it. And then of course they pretend not to speak English when you tell them about a dumping issue. So we want people, property owners, to take care of their property. We don't really want to fine them. That's a last resort, but if it is effective, and keep it up. So thank you.
If the public would like to come up to the mic and ask a question. No questions in the Q&A.
Hi, Skip Keats, 5D07. I was meant to do it earlier today and have not gotten to it yet, but I was going to bring 311. There's a fence around 840 18th Street Northeast. It's where they're dumping stuff. The fence is about to fall in again. It's on these concrete things that connects in, and 2 of them have already started tipping. All it needs is a nice big wind and the entire fence will fall into the more or less abandoned lot where they're going to be selling it off at the end of the month. But there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and we've had similar problems at, help me, the one across the street from 835? 8, yeah. There's been it's similar issues to what's at the corner of 19th and H. But this one is right behind the new building that the Moderna. And they've dropped tires on the outside. There's tires and trash and everything on the inside of the fence and whatnot. It's an eyesore. But if that fence collapses, the kids will be able to get into the site. 840 18th Street Northeast, corner of 18th and I Streets Northeast. It would be the southwest corner.
Right behind where the child center or family planning center.
Mr. Kent's, just to echo, we try to encourage all residents to reach out directly to us and don't go through 311. 311 has a separate process on how they process our requests. If you want a faster response and an efficient response, reach out directly to us or reach out to your commissioners directly so they can relay that information to us.
And Mr. Croft, just to follow with that, I did speak to Director Hanlon about this.
Yeah.
He's aware. He and I actually had a conversation last week. We talked, and so he's aware of that. And I'll just talk to you offline about something else that he's aware of. And I'm going to follow up with him after this meeting tonight. So I'm glad to see you here. I'll let him know that, we talked. But thank you.
Perfect.
Kevin Horgan. I have a question about Airbnbs. On my block, there's a 4-flat where all 4 units are rented out.
Give your address.
I'm a 1500 block. And what I want to know is there a process? Like there isn't affordable housing in the neighborhood because there's a lot of investors are coming in and literally buying up units.
Yes.
Turning all of them. I have no objection to people renting out their spare room. That's completely fine, but I'm talking about, about 2 years ago, I was renovating my house and I went to go look for apartments. I was shocked at how few affordable apartments were left in the neighborhood. I talked to one gentleman who told me he owns 3 houses on Neal Street. Need them all and he was living in the basement of one of them and the rest were all. Now that was right before the new rules came in. What I'd like to understand is what is DOB, or are you in the right agency? What is going on right now in terms of enforcing the Airbnbs, and what mechanism, if you know that the house next to you is just effectively been turned into a hotel because it's, we see the cleaning ladies come in every morning, like all 4 units. So what mechanism, is there particular people we should report to? Is there an online? How can we help make the neighborhood more affordable by cracking down on the Airbnbs? And by the way, I wish we would do something like New York that just banned Airbnbs. Like you can still always rent a spare room in your house, but New York kind of cracked down. I wish we would do something like that, but we got to stay within the current laws. All right, thank you.
Mr. Horgan, this was a 1500 block of what? Mr. Horgan? 1500 block of 15th Street? Neil, thank you.
So essentially, to answer your question, the Department of Buildings doesn't regulate Airbnbs. That's the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. But is the property vacant? Is it like a noise complaint or? Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So we don't regulate the Airbnb legislation or anything along those lines. So that's the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection. And you can work with the council member's office to adjust any policies of that nature. Any questions or concerns?
Were there any other questions? Go ahead.
I
That's Kevin Horgan.
have a question. Hey. Can we get some clarification about, especially what Kevin was speaking on and what's going on in Ivy City with developers and they're buying the properties, they're doing construction with no permits, or they're leaving the buildings or homes abandoned. So not only is it a nuisance property, is creating a nuisance for the community because people are squatting in them. And then when they do flip them, they're flipping them with no permits, and that is being reported. So what can be done to for these properties that are, we know what's going to happen to them because they're sitting, and then once somebody start doing work, cutting down trees and doing renovations, how can that be changed, or how can this process be addressed, and or any are there any consequences to these developers that are because apparently they're just paying the fines and they're continuing with their day?
Any recommendations on accountability?
Right.
Yeah.
So essentially, that's a legislative issue. Because when we get the request from you guys about illegal construction and they have no permits, we slap them with a $4,700 fine. That's to sensitize them to come into compliance, get the necessary permits, and to, do the work the right way. We can't stop the big spenders from just paying the fines and going out and just continuing to work without the proper permitting. That's a policy issue. That's when, sorry to put you on blast, sir, but that's a legislative issue that, we only enforce what they create, the policy they create.
I get it, but it's been going on for a long time and it's getting real bad right now.
So what's the property addresses?
I've already reported them. I'm not.
The ones you already reported to me?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to I just want to know, are there any consequences? Because it's happening all over the city. They're
Mhm.
buying the properties, they're letting it sit abandoned until I guess the market changes, or
Mhm.
they're making them out of Airbnbs and they're doing the construction um without any permits.
Certainly. So how about, I can sit down with you, we can sit down with acting director Hanlon after the confirmation hearing, and we can come together to find a formative solution. Is that
Who's getting confirmed?
acting director Hanlon after his confirmation hearing on Wednesday?
Okay.
Does that sound feasible to you?
Let's do next week.
Okay, I'll work with him on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any final comments or questions for our gentleman? Yes, Commissioner. Oh, Commissioner Reed, you had your hand up a while ago.
Thank you both for being here. I just had a sort of a technical question for you. On the, you sent out the helpful list of links to forms recently, which is great. The one for property inspection, on the form, it lists a space for information for the property owner. But one of the things that I encounter a lot is residents they may not know who the property owner is. They just know that it's a problematic property. So if they want to report, if a neighbor wants to report a home nearby for overgrowth or other concerns, what should they do with those fields that ask for information and contact information for the owner of the property?
But essentially NA, right?
Okay.
You just put NA. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Henderson, you had a question?
So when I've requested DOB follow-up, it's been through the call center and they handle it separately because there are different protocols for DPW. What's your direct number? You said that you all have a different process. Yeah, because I've just gone straight and then straight to the director. So what is that customer service number?
202
Mhm.
671 3500.
Oh, 3,500. Okay, I'm sorry. I already knew that. Never mind. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, no other questions from the public or the commissioners. We appreciate y'all coming out tonight. We really do. So if you could stick around and share some of your business cards at that table or any contact information, we'd truly appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, with that being said, we are done for our presentations tonight. We have one final vote before we can call it quits. We are discussing now how to hold our next month's meeting, ANC public meeting, which is scheduled for what date, commissioners? Second Monday of the month. That is, yes, Monday, November 13th. We'll go ahead and open the discussion or hold the vote first, parliamentarian. What's the proper procedure for this? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Rhodes, can you make the motion that you're requesting? Move.
I move to vote on holding the monthly ANC meetings virtually.
And this is specific for November or
Is moving forward
moving forward?
until the city stops the law, but moving forward.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to proceed holding ANC public meetings that are monthly virtually until further notice by DC government in terms of our options there. Can we get a second for this motion?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell, and we'll open a 3-minute discussion.
Discussion. So I reiterate my concern and request that we hold these meetings actually hybrid, meaning that we meet in person like we're doing tonight and giving people the opportunity to access this meeting electronically. I'm very concerned that citizens are not having the access to these public lawfully required meetings that they should. While I was on the phone, I was actually texting someone who was responding to the meeting, and this person said that they made comments in the chat and they were cut off. That's wrong. I've had these experiences numerous times of being cut off, receiving messages. The host has muted you, the host has removed you from the meeting, claiming that there's some technical deficiency. And this is basically just not true. I use the same devices to access Zoom when I use continuing education for my work and other meetings. So I don't have any issues with any technical issues. This is a problem with this commission and it needs to stop. People need to have access to these meetings. People need to know.
Commissioner
about
Henderson,
these
is your
meetings.
point of not
Can you
having
not-
access
can you
or the
not
option of how to
speak while
hold
I'm
the
speaking?
meeting?
I
It's a
have the
discussion.
floor. I have
It's a
the floor.
discussion.
I have the floor.
Discussion.
I have the
We have a
floor.
minute, 30 seconds left.
You're interfering.
You're
out of
not,
order.
you're coming
The
out of turn with
parliamentarian
the
is not
discussion.
saying anything. While I have the floor, I can say
You're
what I need
wasting
to
time.
say.
Continue.
If you wish to respond,
Continue.
you need to
Continue.
respond. I am continuing.
I wish to
And this is the
respond.
type of outburst that is
Continue, Commissioner
inappropriate.
Henderson.
It's
We're pressed on
inappropriate.
time.
It's inappropriate.
Please.
We are pressed on time because you do not know how to legally facilitate these meetings in a way that is fair to all of the residents, and it speaks poorly of you. So I'm not surprised that you're ineffective in getting things done in your community.
Continue, Kathy, continue.
3 minutes, please.
It's
I would
almost
like
done.
to speak. Are you, Commissioner Henderson, are you still speaking? Because I would like to respond. I would like to respond.
Commissioner Henderson, are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I would like to respond because first, you were complaining about, in the beginning, you were complaining that your constituents want to come in person. Are any constituents of Commissioner Henderson's here in this room right now? Not only
It's not
that,
just, it's
I'm-
not.
Let
just
her
my
speak,
constituents.
let her
please.
People in
speak.
5D,
Don't be a
can I say,
hypocrite.
please? Also,
and that's not what I
the-
said.
Don't be a
also, the meeting is hybrid. So this meeting, people had the chance to come here in person or be online. Now, if anybody objects other than Commissioner Henderson, please let us know now. If anybody have an issue with being in person or being hybrid or being virtual.
All right, Commissioner Arbuckle.
Hello, I actually really enjoyed the hybrid setup this time. I really appreciated being able to, be present with my fellow commissioners and to have the chance to, look in the eye, look the people who are presenting to us in the eye, get that little bit of interaction that way, and to get to know some people in the community that previously were just kind of faces in a sea. So personally, I really appreciated the meeting in person, the hybrid meeting today, and I would enjoy having hybrid meetings going forward. At least, if not every meeting, at least some meetings. I would appreciate having them hybrid.
Well, I appreciate your response. Thank you.
Any other commissioner? Commissioner Ray.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to actually agree with that. I was pleasantly surprised. I think this went really well. So kudos to our chair. And I think Commissioner McCollum, you helped with some of the setup here. It has gone really well. I think
And
hybrid is.
Commissioner Rhodes.
And Commissioner Rhodes. Yeah, no,
Appreciate it.
it's gone very well. And so I think this is a testament to our ability to meet in a hybrid fashion. So I agree with Commissioner Arbuckle that periodically holding hybrid meetings like this, I'm sure it's not an easy thing to do. So I don't want to insist that we do this on an annual or a monthly basis. But maybe we choose to have a quarterly hybrid meeting or something like that allows us to bring members of the community together, allows us to see each other. I think that's also been a welcome experience.
I don't mind. I can compromise with that. Just that we're making a lot of compromises. And everybody is not looking at everyone's situation. We have some folks that's coming from, and we can do it quarterly. If we take on a vote, it's fine. We're good with it.
We don't have to decide that definitively now. I think we could, I'm open to
Right.
revisiting it, but I did want to share that. I think that might be nice.
That's cool.
Commissioner Romney had a final question, comment?
I prefer being in person and I think it's really better for everyone, but the bickering issue, it's like too much. And I think that that's why a lot of commissioners are not okay with being in person. It is just not okay to have this kind of constant conflict.
Agree.
That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
And then if I could just make a comment about it, I am, I will agree that I do like the in-person. It's just something about being in person to see individuals. But I will also say in the same spirit of that this is a volunteer position that all of us were elected to do. Some of us do have 9 to 5 jobs. And then when I say 9 to 5, we're not able to be out on scenes when calls are happening. We can't leave our place of employment. And some of us are working right up until it's time for this meeting. We have families that we may be neglecting. So it does give us an ability to be home, to be with our families. And if we need to step away from camera for some time, we can do that. I personally feel like if we need to have more of those in-person encounters, then each commissioner here that's sitting around here, 1 through 9, we can hold our own in our single SMDs. We can hold our own meetings with our constituents there.
Yep.
But to hold up an individual that may have a family or that may have other responsibilities, by continuously saying that we must meet in person, I am not going to be able to agree with that. For those of you that want to meet in person, I do understand and I get that. But for me, it's going to be a no vote. I am not willing to meet publicly each time. And that is, I mean, I will still be accountable to my constituents, but I just feel like there's another productive way that I can do that. And I have to agree with you too, Commissioner Roblin, that coming here and bickering and arguing and pointing fingers and making falsehoods, that's not doing anything for us.
Nothing.
And I'll deal with that.
Thank
And
you.
I agree too. I'm going to vote no. I prefer doing it virtual.
Thank you. Yeah, and just saying again, I prefer a hybrid option where people have the options to go forward. But at the same time, I'll say to my colleagues, if you want them in person, I need you to stand up and help setting this up in person. Don't just demand it. Actually do something. Volunteer your time. Don't just demand it and start recording people while we're at the dang table. With that being said, we'll move forward with the vote. You have a motion.
Let's clarify the motion just so that we're clear to the public and to ourselves what we're voting for. So let's clarify this motion.
Commissioner, I think we had some community comments.
Oh, there are some
Are
comments?
there questions or is it chat? Because the chat is one feature. Oh, right here. Thank. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Mrs. Keats. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Final comment, Mr. Keats? Mm.
Here, I don't get that ability. This is, we don't think they didn't have the standard. You know, this sounds kind of weird, but it's the truth.
Oh, yes, sir.
Sure.
Mhm.
Right? So I have, and most of those people, so I walk around the city hall. Okay, so I see all the different kinds of movement. I see the services, you know, calling off, and it's that, no need to the application. But the meetings and the presentations to keep the public informed on what you're doing, so that we don't have 50% turnover. Right? And a lot of that occurs because people simply don't understand that it's just being present. Because yeah.
Ward 5 resident.
I want to get a sense of who they are. That's what so that, you know, I don't want to call you something that I don't against a storm that
Thank you, Commissioner Montague, and it made a lot of sense when you broke that down. And yeah, hybrid is great. We like in person. We like being amongst each other without the bickering. But it
Without
just
that.
seems like there's a lot of time being wasted either way. And we don't want to waste taxpayers' time, and we want to take care of business.
We got about 15 seconds for final thoughts.
Could I read a couple from the Q&A?
Are they questions or?
Other
Yeah,
comments?
go ahead, comments.
So,
Let's take two.
yes, one person said, I appreciate the hybrid option and would like to attend the next meeting in person. I hope the commission will consider some hybrid meetings, possibly every other. Another said, I live in a 5D06 and like the virtual meetings as we inch closer toward flu and COVID season. I would really like to stress virtual allows me as someone with a pre-existing condition to attend comfortably.
5D06.
Last, and only 10 seconds.
What was it? I didn't hear that.
The question is, have we surveyed? Well, me personally, I can only speak for me. My constituents, I've talked to them about coming in person or it's being online. And a lot of my folks, first of all, whenever I get any type of complaint from a constituent, I ask in the email, do you attend our public meetings? And almost everyone tells me no. And so what I then do is say, well, here's a link. If you're not home, you can access it from your phone. You can do it from home. You can do it from work. You can do it wherever. And so what I gather from my constituents is they're okay with us being virtual. I'm going to ask that you not continue to record me, Commissioner Henderson.
That's what she does.
I'm going to ask that you not record me. That is a personal ask that you do not, and you cannot, yeah.
So
but
why are you
can
re-recording?
This is why we should not be virtual.
Well, so as parliamentarian, I'm going to say this. As a person, I can determine who can record me on their personal device. I am publicly asking Commissioner Kathy Henderson to stop recording me on your personal phone.
Commissioner Henderson, you're proving your point.
Okay, so I've
In the
made that
opposite.
request publicly that I not be recorded on a personal device. This has nothing to do with anything that's recorded for the public. We're using government equipment. I'm asking a citizen to stop recording me on their own personal phone. And you refuse to do that. So I will follow up as an attorney in DC. I will follow up with you personally starting tomorrow.
Commissioner Henderson, you're not supporting your point at all. You're not collegial. You're not a good citizen.
Let's as parliamentarian, I don't want to push this too much further. This is what we go through at our meetings, and this is one of the reasons why we've asked to be virtual. I'm glad that you all have been able to see the child's play
in real time.
At this point, I would like for us to move for a vote on this matter. Let's have the motion to come. We're about to have the motion to be clear for everyone, and then we will take this vote by roll call.
Can you restate the motion for clarification? Or can I request an amendment to that motion? Is that an amendment?
Well, it depends on what Commissioner Rose would like to do. It's your motion, so.
Okay, so I wanna move
Or motion to.
motion to make our meetings moving forward virtual until the city changes the laws.
Okay, so it's been motioned that we will hold our our monthly public
Yes.
ANC meetings virtually until further notice and guidance provided by the city.
I second it.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor of the, go ahead.
Roll
Take a roll
call,
call.
Roll
please.
call. Okay, we'll do a roll call for the vote. 5D01,
Nay.
5D02.
Come on, come on.
Oh,
come on.
yes.
5D03.
I was just gonna say no, but with the phone, I'm saying
You can
yes.
just vote, Commissioner. Thank you.
Vote, just
No,
vote.
no commentary. 5D04,
Yes.
5D05, I'm a yes. 5D06. 5D07.
Yes.
5D08,
Yes.
5D09.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion carries. We'll move forward and hold next month's meeting virtually. And we'll follow up with the public to notify them how we'll proceed based on the rulings and decisions of DC government. With that being said, we have nothing else to discuss tonight. We'll open up these next few minutes for any questions or comments from the public before we adjourn. Is there any? No, you go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, if you can grab to the mic so they can hear you.
I was curious about the traffic study that you all are doing on Montello. So I noticed that I think you mentioned the 1400 block, and I was just curious what the study is measuring. And also just to point out that kind of at the corner of Montello and Rom, there's a lot of traffic incidences of people peeling around. So I was just kind of hoping that maybe if there's a study in one area that it would extend perhaps. So anyway, I just wanted to know more about it.
Can you clarify what we originally requested and
Yeah, so the traffic study I mentioned is limited to the 1400 block of Montello because that's where the 311 request for the speeding study was. And
Okay,
DDOT preliminarily, I guess, found enough speeding concern to do a full study.
okay,
But we have been trying to get DDOT to do a full study on the entire stretch of Montello Avenue.
Yeah.
And it's, we've had to get creative over the years. We got those flex posts up in the improved crosswalks around the school because that was near a school and DDOT had a new, safe routes to school program for the kids walking there. We were getting some piece by piece, but DDOT just doesn't want to do an entire corridor length study. And one of the biggest obstacles that DDOT is throwing up is that it's a bus route.
Sure.
So they're saying that they can't put any vertical measures in like speed humps or stop signs or something. I know it's nonsense, but that's what they're telling us. There are still other options they can do horizontally. They can, put in some striping, they can extend the curbs, they can do a lot more, but they just have proven unwilling to, and we are still hounding them on that. And I'm going to keep hounding them on that, even after I'm not a commissioner anymore, whenever that is.
they're giving us a lot of excuses and they've kind of narrowed our request down to just that 1400 block.
Yeah.
We originally requested all of Trinidad Avenue and Montello Avenue. Our kind of collaboration effort was just to see if they will give us Montello Avenue because there tends to be a lot more speeding going down the hill than up the hill.
Yeah.
So if you and other neighbors are willing to make yourselves available to provide testimony and feedback next year when the time is to speak, definitely we would really look for your support. ANC commissioners they say we have great weight. We just get a couple more minutes on those hearing times. So if there's a lot more residents requesting the same thing, maybe they'll do something different. But they're addressing the concern and we're going to definitely follow up from there moving forward. But the focus is, at least I can speak for ourselves and Commissioner Collins, sure, the focus is Montello right now. The focus is Montello.
Yeah, and just one more thing, that with that motorcyclist fatality back in June, every time there's a fatal crash, DDOT does an after action report where they go visit the site, they try to figure out what factors were involved and they figure out what steps they can take to ensure that that doesn't happen again. They haven't released it yet, but I'm still looking at the site to see if they're planning to take any action on that block from it. And so hopefully that'll just be another block where we can get some more traffic coming on Montello.
thanks.
Yes. To have commissioners on Zoom here in person, it's possible. Well, I don't know, we can have quorum, I'm on decorum, but
Well, the director is back here. Maybe it'd be best to ask.
We would need quorum.
we
would need quorum.
as long as they're showing their face publicly on the Zoom and just again making themselves visible for voting action items, we meet quorum. That is permitted. Yeah. Thank you for the suggestions, thank you, we appreciate that. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A and I don't see any questions or comments from the public. With that being said, I motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Second by Commissioner May. All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, we're adjourning tonight's meeting at 9:45. Thank you, everyone.